pushing the button. It'll come up here in a sec.
Ah.
I love those colors.
Nice.
Yeah. Hello, I hope you're ready, because I'm going to start talking. Hello, welcome to Essential Living with Pilar. I am Pilar, and tonight's show, Essential Living is a show about a variety of topics, all things holistic, all things to do with consciousness and planetary evolution, wellness, energy, quantum mechanics, metaphysics, all sorts of those topics. And tonight, we have a special guest, and we're going to talk about dreams. We have my friend Al Chickering here, who is very knowledgeable or has done a lot of in-depth work with dreams, and he's kind enough to share his wisdom with us tonight. So welcome.
Why, thanks. Nice to be here.
So we all, of course, have experiences with our own dreams, and we could go on for hours and days discussing the variety of different interpretations of dreams. So we're just going to touch on some basic aspects of them and just lend a little clarity to what we're experiencing when we are asleep. So what do you think, what do you want to introduce the topic as? I'll leave it to you to kind of bring up the essence of dreams in general and that experience when we are in that subconscious state.
Yeah, there are lots of different ways of thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
One of the ways I particularly like thinking about it is that it's for Joe average person, that our encounter with our dreams every day is our encounter with the divine or our creator or the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
One of the Desert Fathers, Tertullian, I think, had a massive dream log, and that was the thing he came up with, basically, that
Mm-hmm.
that for Joe average, our encountering our dreams is our sort of daily encounter with God or something like that, and depending how you think of that. And for me, growing up Quaker, with our beliefs in the inner light and the idea of being guided by the light from within us and the still small voice and things like that, those definitely, as I was growing up kind of searching for what is that, then in Quakerism there's this practice of journaling about your life.
Yeah, so we want to talk about that. It's important.
And the idea, so to some degree, my massive dream log, it's one of my big life achievements of writing my dreams every day for 40 years or something,
Mm-hmm.
is recording my own encounters with the divine, and part of how I seek guidance and how my dreams help me know what I'm feeling better, more deeply, more honestly, and give me ideas and show me different, help me clarify my own purposes, my own values in different situations.
Yeah, dreams are, again, a huge, broad realm, and everything you said I completely agree with. And it is because when we are asleep, we are in that astral plane. We're in that, we have that access to spirit. The thing is that since it is our subconscious expressing and making contact with that ether, but depending on, I think, the individual, and you can share what you think on that, we either are really enmeshed in our daily experiences, so we bring that into that in our dreams and some sort of representation of our daily concerns and situations, just those feelings emerge through our dreams. Or sometimes if we're not so encumbered with that, when we enter into that dream state, we do find that we have some more connected feeling dreams, that we may even make contact with somebody that's somebody we know that's moved on to spirit world, is no longer on this plane of existence. So there's a variety of access, but I think I see of it as layers of, depending on how bound we are by our daily existence, then we kind of fumble through those in dreams. Or if we are able to disconnect or relax a little bit before we go to sleep, we turn that off a little bit and we have a higher access to something more interesting. I think. Would you say that that is something that you've experienced? Because people have contact with, you dream about people that have passed on, or things that you did as a kid, or all sorts of things that at first don't make sense, but when you, and I think it is great to keep a journal, because at the moment you may not understand, but if you have it and you can go back and look at it, then you can really find some answers in that.
Yeah, so the actual catching of them is part of the fun, a little like hunting or fishing or something like that, and it does make a difference, and it is something you kind of can learn to do better. I kind of made a deal, maybe 40 years ago or something, that during a dry period, that anything that the Great Spirit could get through my head that I would actually remember when I was waking up, I would at least dignify it by writing it down in order to keep the flow coming, kind of. That was part of my deal.
Well, it's sort of like an acknowledgement, sort of like saying thank you, give me more.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and so that helped kind of, it's almost like practicing a musical instrument. You do write all down all these funny things about work and home and high school chums and family and different things that are, but they all kind of, you gradually come to understand how they're helping you know what you're feeling and helping you know what's important to you, and then every now and then you have these more transcendental dreams that seem more important for others as well as you, or help you resolve. My dad gave me permission of a kind of special dream he had not too long ago after his father had died, where he and his dad were a little bit, it's not exactly estranged, but kind of unresolved in certain ways when his father died. But this was sort of a special dream where he was up on, Dad's 90 himself at this point, and in his dream he was like up on this Hollister Hill near where we live, and it's just a beautiful fall. This is in Vermont day, and the dirt road, and his dad, and it's sunny and warm, and his dad's just walking along with a bicycle and a pair of tennis shoes and a pair of shorts, and they just kind of encounter each other there and have a nice hug and greeting and kind of a reconciliation in a way. But Dad's kind of going up into the sun and up onto the hill and sort of meeting his dad, who's also old but strong and kind of hanging out. But that was a special sense of reconciliation or reunion, but it's also maybe a little of Dad's getting on the edge of going up there too or something.
Well, he's moving on, but it was, he did pause to offer that moment. So,
right, yeah.
Yeah, and I do think that I think Spirit tries to reach us all the time, but we are either, with our faucet open, or we have the valve turned off because we are not accessible because we're busy doing this. So acknowledging that, again, expands that ability to let in more.
Right.
It's sort of like anything else. Okay, so they did that with it, let's give it some more.
Yeah.
So I want to kind of, another thing that is nice, I think, to at least allow for more of that is to, depending on how we go to sleep at night. For example, if we go to sleep after a heavy meal, or whatever, maybe drinking a lot of alcohol or it's sort of like we go into more of the body has to work more. So if the body is working and its functions, then that energy is taken up in the physical, versus if we go to sleep lighter, then it's easy for our subconscious to lift off and access more. So that's something, and also to quiet down before sleep instead of sitting there till the last minute, maybe watching television or having the mind engaged in the mundane till the very last minute. I think that's why a lot of people have trouble sleeping, which is a big deal.
Yeah.
So they can't even get that far. Sometimes when people say, a lot of people say that they never dream or they don't remember their dreams. So that usually tends to mean that they're just really bogged down by their physical experience, and there's no space to reach, into that lighter, higher vibration.
Yeah, and it's also part of it is making, and if you want to catch dreams, is making your sleeping a priority, kind of. So, and if you, so the way that that our bodies have these REM cycles is if you allow yourself, if you go to bed early or you sleep alone or you sleep in the dark, all of those can help, as well as setting a hook, kind of like putting a pen or paper near with this intention, as well as potentially you can incubate kind of dreams by thinking of repeating certain words or images of things you want to possibly get some guidance on. And often within a day or two or three, you would, if you allow yourself, because the way our body cycles, we kind of sleep deeper and then we come up in a small REM cycle and then a little larger REM cycle, and then we have a biggest REM cycle just in the earliest morning when you wake up.
To get up.
And if you want to try to learn the art in a way of catching them, I like this fishing metaphor, because if you watch an animal or anything, we naturally come awake right at the end of that REM cycle. And if you can hold your body position when you're becoming aware that you're becoming awake, and pay attention to your emotions, sort of like, if you watch an animal, you could be either frightened or kind of happy, or it kind of depends on a lot of your most recent experience in that REM thing. So there's all these clues in your body and mind, but if you can put up a wall, just a giant, not start making your to-do list or thinking about the concerns of the day, but it's all still going to be there. But if you can sort of put up this giant wall and kind of like, if you're in a pool of water, like in a brook or something like this, just laying there and go within, sort of that seventh direction kind of, and just go within and pay attention to your emotions and stay there for some minutes. You may start, oh yeah, that's right, that's high school chum, or oh yeah, it's like glimpsing fish in the water, kind of, and oh yeah. So if you take some time to hang out in that hypnagogic time, as you're becoming aware that you're becoming awake, you can learn how to kind of feel your way back inwards and touch and feel these things, and then that's part of the art of just, if you keep your attention within, you can still get up, go to the bath, but as long as you have this sort of wall,
you don't get connected. You don't get connected right away. It's so hard sometimes too, but you got to really say,
not focus on the day, but keep your focus within. Then you can kind of get and write that stuff out or do whatever you want, but I like to write it out so you catch it. And then once you catch it, it kind of stays, or you can come back to it.
Even if you write a word.
Yeah, even just a couple words for what that.
Yeah, and that's it there, because then you wake up.
If you have 3 or 4 images, sometimes you can just jot down 2 or 3 words about that, because sometimes you'll have 3 or 4 dreams kind of that are somewhat connected but also quite different. And if you just put down a couple of the main images or characters,
you can go back
then you can go back and write them out, but you won't forget these others when you're writing out the details on this one.
Yeah, and in the meantime, if you get too caught up, then you wake up.
Right.
So then you kind of snap out of that experience. So you don't want that. So it's you really have to be purposefully wanting to connect and stay connected to the dream itself, and the details, because there's so many details, and then we can go into the symbolism of different things, and that's a whole other thing. But
once you catch it, then you can kind of reflect on it and work with it for the rest of your life. And some of those experiences that you catch can change your life forever if you choose to pay attention to it and draw strength from it. Like any waking experience that's important, you can have gratitude for it, and you can forever, the rest of your life, continue to draw strength from that particular experience. One that's a little like that came to mind that related to this death and dying. I had a dear friend maybe 10 years ago who I was her main confidant over a whole huge community of friends. Sue Tupper helped make the refugee center here, very beloved, wonderful woman. But it was a lot of responsibility to be the one that she was sharing her fears of the unknown and dying with. And she told me, it's just, I'm just doing this with you, Al, because we've been on this dialogue about the spirit for years, and she had cancer, and she went to Plum Village and spent some time with Tinaha and came back and then kind of died. But right towards the end of that, I had this dream where she and I were like we were out like on boogie boards in the ocean, and we knew this big wave was coming for her. You could just sit, anytime.
Was this in the dream?
Yeah, this is the dream. Now I'm shifting into the dream, but we had this eye contact, and she was just terrified, and I was kind of terrified, but I didn't know how to help her, but we're just tread water with the eye contact, and then all of a sudden, somehow this voice came through me, and I just told her, wherever you go, there's only one thing to remember. Just live each moment in a sacred manner. You'll be fine, wherever you end up, kind of. And that was a huge kind of gift that I gave her. And then I left her some messages. She was still kind of conscious at home. She wasn't quite, and she called me at my desk. This is now waking. And I was able to tell her the dream as kind of and the next times I saw her, I was bringing people from farther away to her bed, but she was in and out of consciousness and then died. And then I had another dream a little later where she and I came down like from heaven, and we hung out at this beautiful rooftop garden looking over like the Columbia for the afternoon, and then she had to leave, and I was pleading, and I'll marry her or whatever, and she had to go, and she sort of handed me off to this older people, a little like my counselors and stuff, and took off. But, and the next day or two, I found a painting at Group Health or something that I bought that I have in my cubicle ever since. It's kind of like that dream of Susan. But that idea that the essential thing of just living each moment in a sacred manner has, under stress or when I don't know what to do, or that's changed my life forever, kind of.
Yeah.
And that's just a simple idea, but my giving it to her out of trying to help her with her anxieties of dying through my dream, was just one of these kind of dreams that's on a different scale, kind of, because that was a huge learning experience for me to try to be there for her during that whole year or 2 or 3 or whatever, as that was all cancer and not and different things.
Well, I think too, when somebody's at that level of transitioning, they're sort of like in between worlds, and their spirit is kind of already moving on, and so that makes sense that in those pivotal moments of her transition, that's pretty symbolic. And water is a huge symbol of emotions and moving on and a transport of a soul.
Yeah.
So, that's pretty powerful. And unfortunately, not enough people pay attention to the depth of and the magnitude of that magnificence of that connection. That in our limited earthly consciousness, we rarely give it an opportunity, but it's wonderful when we do make some space for it, and we can have really profound experiences. So thank you for sharing that. That's pretty special. And sometimes in dreams we get all emotional for whatever reason, and especially if in cases where we dream with a loved one, be it a friend or whatever, that's been gone, or it's really like whoa. But it proves that we're never disconnected, and we never really die. We just go into a different vibrational state.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so that's another fascinating topic that to be expanded further in the future too, which would be very cool. But it's really a different level of vibratory frequency. It's almost like a propeller and a fan. When it's on, you don't see it.
Yeah.
But it's still spinning. It's just going so fast.
Right.
And so I think when we get to that, we're still here, but it's just at a different density.
Yeah. Yeah, for me it's like food. It's kind of like smoked salmon or something that's strong, that's nourishing. It's like refreshing newness in this relation I've established with the unknown through my morning dream catching. Because a lot of my life is, more routine, but I get new experiences of the unknown, through the dreams. And there's something about cherishing this encounter with the unknown and capturing it that for me feels like it's I'm just happy I figured out this sort of more sacred way of waking up that works for me, that feels like honors the gifts I received while I was sleeping. And I've struggled harder to figure out more sacred ways of falling asleep, of the alphabet gratitude list or different
but those things keep you kind of awake, and because when you try too hard to intellectualize what your relaxation, you don't relax.
Right, but I've hoping I could find a more sacred way of falling asleep, because I feel happy that I found this kind of sacred way of waking up.
But it already is.
Yeah.
Sometimes we want to make something
more. But I do
more,
tend to go to bed early or sleep in the dark, or sleep alone, and I do tend to, in order to try to give myself time. So part of the deal for me as over my life is, when I'm catching dreams, it means I'm sleeping well.
Yes.
It means I'm taking enough time to have some REM cycles. So when I go through some days or something where I don't catch dreams, then I realize I need to go to bed earlier. I need to change things around and try. And it's trickier, if you're flying on, or there are times where you got to wake up early and you don't have, But if you want to try to catch dreams, you can try to mess with your sleeping environment and make it more of a priority and have it a little longer,
make the space for it,
and darker, and maybe alone or whatever, or if you.
I mean, it's important because you don't want to have that earthly connection by having something to anchor you.
Right. So, and it's a little
or
like you were
someone.
saying. And let go of the TV, different thing.
Turn
be
everything
relaxing on your way to sleep. So it's part of health is having deep, good sleep. And part of one of the special blessings of deep, good sleep is possibly some really nourishing dreams that you can draw strength from for the rest of your life. That could happen anytime. And I have a lot of those different kind of dreams that are some are more just personal for me, but some seem to have relevance maybe for the wider world or something, so it's hard to know exactly.
Yeah, because there are certain interpretations that are, more broad that have that significance. But to make space for it, it's sort of like a meditative practice.
Exactly.
But through sleep.
What I like about it compared to prayer and meditation, which I also do a lot and stuff, it's maybe a boy thing, a little, or a guy, but is you get this feedback of whether you either catch some dreams or you don't. Whereas when you pray and meditate, you do your best. You may feel better and it helps and everything, but it's not quite. You don't get quite that dynamic.
Well, you don't go into that super consciousness.
Yeah, you don't get quite that thing of either you got it or you didn't, and it's fun when you get it. If you're hoping to have some dreams.
Well, you get yourself out of the way when in that state.
Yeah.
Where it's hard for a lot of people, it's hard to meditate because it's hard to quiet the mind in the being awake. So in a way, it's almost like a good segue toward a meditation practice to learn that quiet down period of just disconnecting from everything, the dark. That's very important anyway for melatonin production, so you can go to sleep. If you sleep in bright light, your body, your brain thinks it's daytime, so it's time to wake up. Versus if you have the dark, we know that it's time to go to sleep, so you go into that state. So we kind of, this is a fascinating topic, and I'd love to continue it with you someday. We don't have a lot of time left, but still, it's such a great topic, and if you're willing eventually to pick it up from where we left off, I think that it'd be nice to go into some specific examples and expand on it, because it's such a vast, fascinating topic, and most people don't think to really give it that much honor and space, as you were talking about, to really kind of set the stage for that. It's sort of like a gateway. No, not sort of. It is a gateway into that astral plane where we should be spending, I think, more time in, because it is really, we're really vibrational beings in this physical body. But being in the physical body, we're very anchored down, and we never give ourselves enough room to go there, especially if, we have distractions like friends, family, obligations, yada, yada, yada. So I think it's important to make that a priority. So what I would, and I'm sure you'd agree, want to invite whoever is watching, our audience, to start keeping a dream journal. And kind of jot down, like you said, just bullet points, and start thinking about what is coming through, what isn't going through, and just creating that sleep space to really go into spirit and touch that aspect of us. So thank you so much for sharing that, your experiences. It's really wonderful. So I hope you grace us with your presence again.
Well, it's a privilege, and thanks for having me.
All right. Well, on that note, we will do this again. You heard him. He said he would come back. So thank you. And yeah, keep a dream journal. Just put a little notebook by the bed, right? Simple. Sometimes we over-intellectualize, like, oh, now I got to go get a notebook of this. But, just keep it simple, even just like a little sticky note. Better than nothing, just to make some notes and start
Over the
connecting.
years, I just use blank copy paper in a file folder and put a bunch, because it's easy to write on.
Yeah.
Other things aren't. But that's just what I've gradually. So I have these file, a couple four-row
Well, yeah,
file
it can get
cabinet
complicated,
full
but
of
just to
these,
start.
But it's just blank 8x11. File folders are easy to write on, kind of. But everybody does. It's not that romantic
No, it
compared to a
doesn't have
little
to be.
journal or something.
It
But it's
doesn't
just
have
what
to
I've
be.
ended up because it's simple. Anyways.
Well, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you so much. And I guess that we are kind of winding down. So thank you for joining us. And we will see you again. And we'll pick up this topic in the near future, because it is quite fascinating. In the meantime, keep your dream journal. And that's your homework. Good, right?